John Thomason is the State Card Program Manager with the Department of Administrative Services, and he will be giving us some information about that program. After his presentation, Ed Finnegan, who is the Director of the Office of Fleet Management, will be talking about the fuel card program. So we'll go ahead and get started. And John, if you'll just start us off by talking about the P-card program.
Pam, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and thanks to Corey as well. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Georgia Municipal Association for giving us this opportunity to present this information to all of its members. We hope that you'll find this information useful, and we hope that we can convince you to join up and use our programs to save yourself some money, as well as generate some revenue in some cases. And I think it's definitely, these are programs worth looking into. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to start off by giving you some important information about it. This is a Visa purchasing card program that is, the card is actually issued through Bank of America. We have some dedicated support from Bank of America, and I've got those folks listed. Actually, two of these folks are in the webinar attending today. Brent Winger, who's a Treasury Sales Officer, and his contact information, as well as Brent Wellmaker, are here in the office. So if there are any bank questions related to the card, we can address those as well. Eric Melson, who's the client manager, Samira Benchiki, and then also Cortez Forrest. He is our dedicated support for the program. So if there are any issues surrounding, any card issues for those who are actually in the program, or those who are looking to sign up, just keep in mind that you will have a dedicated support rep each and every time you call. So you won't be talking to 1-800-GET-ANYBODY. It will be Cortez each time. The contract that we have in place has been in place since 1996, so it's a very mature program. We've actually rebid this a couple times, and Bank of America has been successful each time we've done that, so that's actually good for us. It's a very solid program. There are no fees associated with this program, so it doesn't cost you anything to join up. All we require is 3 years of audited financials, as well as signing a participation agreement. The terms of the statewide contract allow you, as a local government entity, to participate in the program. And really, you guys develop your own policies and procedures. We don't have any oversight, so really you guys can use this program in any form or fashion. We here at the state are pretty strict about our policies. We don't allow fuel, obviously, because we have a fuel card program. But there are some programs that may, local governments that may elect to use it for fuel, or they can use it for any other means that they dictate in their policy. Moving on, the benefits of the program are multiple, and I've listed here a few important ones. Obviously reductions in procurement costs and improved cash flow. With this program, based on an RPMG study from 2012, the average cost for doing a PO cradle to grave is about $90.77. Through a P-card transaction, that is actually reduced significantly. So a P-card transaction really only costs you about $17, from an administrative standpoint. Also, you have a float benefit as well. When your card program is set up just like a regular, personal credit card, where you get a monthly statement. And when that statement falls, you've got a 30-day grace period to pay that bill. You have obviously the terms left on the monthly payment terms, the 30 days, and then you have an additional 25-day float. So in essence, you can have up to 55 days to pay your bill, which is great. So you can keep the money in the bank a lot longer. Obviously, it doesn't, with the way interest rates are today, it doesn't really help you all that much. But the economy ever turns around, that would benefit you in a great way. But that's very important. There's the potential to increase staff efficiency and productivity based on those reduced times. You have shorter procurement cycle times. The average cycle time to do a PO is about 12 days. On a P-card transaction, it's approximately about 3 days. About 3.6 days. So you can actually reduce that PO cycle time by about 70%. You have access to some really detailed spend data. And through this program, and we'll get into this on some later slides, the bank provides a software platform to help you manage the program called Works. And in this program, there are actually 652 data fields that you can utilize. So you can slice and dice data numerous different ways to analyze it and use it to your benefit. You have obviously some great opportunities to consolidate vendors. Through the program, you can really, through the reporting, that is, you can see where you're using your card and basically use that to leverage your vendors. You can see if you're buying office supplies from 3 or 4 different people, you can take that and cut that back and utilize 1 or 2 and give those vendors more business, and therefore trying to drive the price down. You have the possibility of reducing or eliminating the use of petty cash. Petty cash is really a kind of a risky venture for a lot of folks, and it's easily abused. So with the card program, you can eliminate that and really have oversight of how you utilize small transactions. You have liability protection with this program for fraud and misuse. With the program for misuse and abuse, you have $100,000 misuse liability insurance through Visa. And so if there's any misuse by a cardholder, the entity is covered up to $100,000. If your card number is compromised in any form or fashion, you have unlimited coverage through the bank. Through Visa on that. And so really, if I'm sure some of us have been through that when you're traveling and all of a sudden you find out that somebody in some foreign country or some other state has got a hold of your card number. You're really not liable for that transaction as long as you report that misuse or abuse or fraud within 60 days. You're not liable for the transaction. And then obviously you have the icing on the cake of the program is really the rebate program. At the end of each year, we have and we'll get into this on some later slides, but there's a rebate involved with this program. So based on your overall annual purchase volume, we will give you back money. Instead of your personal card programs, a lot of them have points or those kind of things. We basically get cash back from the bank based on the volume that we generate. And it's based on the overall volume of the program. So, our program is $330 million. It's pretty significant. So we take that money from the bank and we distribute it out to all the participants in the program, and we give them, based on whatever tier they achieve, that rebate. Let me just go ahead and click through some of these here, open these all up. So basically, it's a risk-free procurement solution for you. It's a great way to utilize your funds and to purchase these small dollar items. It can be used for larger, obviously, but it's a great small dollar tool for procurement activities. There are really 3 different protections that you guys can use to eliminate the risk. And the first level is really the policies and procedures you put in place. And as I mentioned before, you're not bound by the state's policy. You guys can develop your own, although we will share our policy with you, and you can utilize any piece of that you like. Use all of it, none of it, or some of it. And if you want, we can actually work with you in development of your own policy. But that's really your first level of protections. Your second level is really the software platform that is provided by the bank, which is the Works platform. In that platform, you have all kinds of tools that you can use to manage it and have oversight of the program. For each card holder, you can establish spending limits and for each card holder, and then you can also you have MCC block capability, which MCCs are merchant category codes. So with regards to basically every kind of product out there today, there's an established merchant category code that goes along with that product. So for example, office supplies. Office supplies all have one MCC code. So if you have an administrator in the office that is really only supposed to be buying office supplies, you can go into that Works platform and open up only that code. Everything else is blocked out. And so if that person tries to go to a convenience store or go to an electronics store or something that they're not authorized to buy, that card will be declined at the point of sale. So that card is really just a worthless piece of plastic if they try to use it anywhere else other than an office supply store. So which is great. It gives you great oversight of the program. It really locks it down for you. And it'll, it's really a risk-free venture if the program is managed. And finally, you have the last level of protection, which is the liability waiver program, which is what I just mentioned earlier. It's $100,000 for misuse and abuse per cardholder, as well as for fraud. It's unlimited. So really, as long as you catch it within 60 days, and if you have complete oversight of the program and you're reviewing your transactions on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, you should have no problems with this. There's a couple different kinds of cards that we like to advertise in the program. The first one is really an accounts payable card. It's basically it's a P card, but we like to use it as a card that is kept in the AP department, or you could call it an AP departmental card, but it is assigned to a particular person in that office. But that card is really held by a person that may open up the mail or may have some sort of AP responsibilities for payables. So if they get a bill in the mail and they open it up and see that, okay, this invoice is going to let me pay with a Visa or MasterCard, that person can basically pull that card out and pay that bill with their card. So it just makes things so much easier and so much quicker, and it really reduces your payment cycle. So as I mentioned here, cards are available to AP to be used to pay online, pay one-time invoices. You're not tying up any cardholder limits. It's really great for reducing costs associated with your check, your check stock, your ink, your postage, and those kind of things. So it's really reducing a lot of administrative costs, and then it will improve your cash flow and increase the float capability. So. Which is what I mentioned earlier with regards to the float. So these are some benefits of the AP card, and really you can do more with less, save time and money. Another product that we like to advertise is the ghost cards, and really ghost cards are really it's a 16-digit account number that's generated through the Works platform. But there's no physical plastic. So what happens is you have a particular vendor that when we like to use the example of cell phone providers, Verizon, for example. If you have your entity has multiple cell phones out there, and you're getting the bill each week for each cell phone, or you're getting a one large bill for a bunch of different cell phones, what you can do is you can go into the Works platform and you can generate or create a profile for a ghost card, and it's basically the same process as issuing a regular P card, but at the end of it, you just don't in that platform you just don't issue the plastic. You're just creating the 16-digit card number, and that card number is actually given to the vendor to keep on file. And so when you get your invoice in the mail, if it's whoever it is, if it's a cell phone provider, a service provider, whoever, you review that bill, you check it for its accuracy and make sure no taxes were charged, etc. And once that bill is reviewed, you can call that vendor up and say, hey, I want to pay this invoice, number, whatever it is, yada, yada, yada. And you can basically say, charge it to the card number that you have on file. And there's a couple things here with the Works platform. You can go in and you can set that ghost card number and put the limit at 0. So actually it's a worthless card number. So if there's any concerns about the vendor having access to a card number, but once that bill is reviewed, you can go into the Works platform, and it's real time. So you can go in, load the amount of the invoice on that card number, and then click it and process it. Takes like 2 seconds, and then you can call the vendor and say, go ahead and take your payment, and then once they take that payment, that limit will drop back down to 0. So once again, without doing anything, it drops down to a worthless card number. So we like to advertise this as a great way to utilize the card in this program for reoccurring bills that come from whoever, whatever service providers or cellular providers, etc., that send you a monthly bill or a weekly bill or whatever it may be. So as I think I mentioned most of these things already, but it's just a great way to use the P-card program without any physical plastic. Another part of the program, and this is called buyer-initiated payments or e-payables. And this is part of our P-card program, but it's more of an accounting process. But it's basically an electronic payment, but it's done on a 16-digit number. And I'll kind of explain this here, but it's really an integrated, seamless. It can integrate seamlessly with your accounts payable process, and it really is an excellent way to generate volume on a card program and increase your rebate potential. And what this is basically doing is converting your monthly check payments that you are paying all these vendors out each month and converting them to electronic payments. So as I've got bullet pointed here, you can avoid transaction fees and reduce costs and inefficiencies associated with paper checks. You can improve cash flow and increase your flow compared to other payment types. You can maintain your existing AP processes with little or no technical resources. And this is critical because it's basically your AP process is the same as it would be for cutting a check. And the bank will help you do this, but they'll integrate this ePayables platform or the Works platform with your ERP system. So, basically your AP process is the same all the way up to the point where you're going to basically click a button to cut a check. And at that point, you would basically click a different button. And the bank, obviously, there's some technical stuff that has to get involved in the setup. But you would click on an electronic payments button. And what it does is it creates a file. And that file is basically dumped and is created and is electronically sent to the bank. And the bank will take that information and they pay every vendor in that file on your behalf. And they'll basically take care of that end of it. And then they will send you one consolidated bill for all those transactions for the month. And this is done when the bank sends a notification out to all the vendors to basically take their payment from you. It's done on a 16-digit number. And this is out of your purview. You wouldn't know how they're doing it, but that's how it's done. And because it's done on a 16-digit card number, it is rebate applicable. So when you convert all those monthly checks, you're basically converting those over to an electronic payment on a 16-digit number, and therefore it counts towards your volume and your P-card program. So it's an excellent way to really boost your overall P-card volume. So really, as I mentioned here, is implementing ePayables can easily double or triple your program volume, increasing your rebate. So that's huge because there are a lot of folks that generate a lot of money off this program without the ePayables, and then when they throw ePayables on there, it really exponentially increases their rebate. As I mentioned earlier, you got the Works platform that the bank provides that's free. It's got online reporting, reconciliation, and account management tool, and it will enable you to have program oversight. You got workflow approval, and one single tool. So this program really, or this platform, has a lot of functionality in it. It's kind of like Outlook on steroids. You can really, it has email functionality, etc. So if you want to see a report or you want to see any kind of transaction reporting or anything of that nature, you can have that report on your desk waiting for you. However you set it up, you can have it there every Monday, every day. You really have complete oversight of what's going on. One of the reports that we like to advertise is you can do declined reporting. So you can know if somebody's trying to swipe that card on weekends or wherever you can see where it's been declined each time that it's been done. So you can really see if somebody's trying to test it. And if they're trying to use it at stores they shouldn't be using it at. It's a great training opportunity for you. You can integrate your card transactions into the current ERP system. You can optimize your processes and spending controls through the MCC blocks. You got the workflow, as I mentioned, and which is the email functionality, and then you have general ledger integration. With the workflow, when the bank implements you guys into the program, if you elect to sign up, what they'll do is they'll work with you. They'll have an implementation team, and they'll basically load your everybody load your hierarchy for your organization in that tool. So everybody that's a card holder will have their information in there, their email addresses, etc. So, for example, if there's a card holder, when there's activity on a card, and that person goes to a store, and once that card is swiped, that person is going to get an email giving them a notification that there's been activity on their card. And so they can go in, and once they get the email, there'll be an embedded link in that email that they can click on. It'll take them to the Works platform, and they can verify, the accuracy of that transaction. They can check to make sure that, yes, I did shop at Staples. Yes, I did buy a box of pens. Yes, it did cost this amount, and yes, I did not. I wasn't charged any taxes. So you can kind of have, oversight of what that transaction was. And at that point, they can process that transaction to the next level of review. Their manager or whoever it is that they, or you elect to have to be the next reporting person in that workflow. And they can obviously check it. One of the beauties of this is the Works platform is the general ledgers. All your general ledger codes are loaded in the system as well. So when that transaction occurs, there's drop-down capability in the tool that you can apply it to whatever code it needs to go to. So if it's something that was purchased for Parks and Rec or facilities or whatever the case is, you can assign it to that particular budget or ledger code to make sure it's applied appropriately. So you really can control basically everything about the card, how the money is used and spent, etc. And then obviously you automate your expense allocation and information management activities. You can create, access, and share on-demand reporting. So, as I mentioned, you can create reports. You can use this data. As I mentioned earlier, there are 652 data fields. So you can really slice and dice that data any way you want, and then create a report. Now, there's standard reporting in there. You can you can create your own reports, but you can have those reports available at any point in time that you need them. And here's the icing on the cake with regards to the program. It's a tiered rebate structure. It's based on the annual volume that the local entity achieves for the year, and that would be a fiscal year, the state's fiscal year, which would be June through July of the following year. You need a minimum annual spend of 20 grand, which is pretty easy to achieve, to start accruing a rebate. At 20 grand, if you do 20,000 up to $1 million, you'll get 50 basis points or 0.5%. If you do $1 million to $3 million, it's going to be 1%. $3 million up to $8 million is going to be 1.1% or 110 bips or basis points, and then anything above $8 million is going to be 1.4%. So, and that's based on your overall volume for your program. So it's a great way to generate revenue for your organization. We have a lot of folks that utilize this money for a number of different reasons or ways. They use it to fund positions, pad their budgets, etc. So it's really great, a great opportunity to pad your budget. And then here's just a list of some of our customers who are on the program. I think this is the top 24. But if you take a look at some of the folks on here, now these are some of the larger Metro County school boards, but $276,000 for Gwinnett County Schools, and Cobb County Schools at $260 grand. But you'll see I've highlighted in red that some of the cities that are involved. City of Valdosta did about $38,000. That's what they achieved in a rebate. City of Albany got $23,000. City of Roswell got 19 grand. LaGrange got 11, almost 12. So, and this is only 24 out of 142 that are currently in the program. So there are numerous folks on the program that are taking advantage of this program and generating revenue from it. So, like I said, there are a number of different ways that you can utilize the program. I think on the bottom right there, I've got mentioned that there are currently 39 municipalities utilizing this P-card program today. So, you know, we hope that all those listening will take this information and use it and give us a call, and hopefully we can get you guys signed up and get you on your way to generating some revenue and, you know, realizing some efficiencies and some of the benefits of the card program. And I believe that may wrap it up. So here's a number that you can reach us here at DOAS. And then got a question slide.
I have a question, and if any of the participants have any questions, they can type them in at this time. But does it matter if the amount of the transaction? Because I know some of our cities have some very large bills they pay if they have their own electric system or natural gas system. So would that be considered a viable option for them to pay those bills with?
It is. If the merchant accepts a credit card, then yes. However, now we've noticed that I think Georgia Power or utility companies typically do not take it because their margins are so low they really can't overcome the interchange rate, which is the cost of acceptance of the card. So Georgia Power, we've known to take it up to $600, but anything over and above that they won't. You may get lucky on some of the bulk, fuel providers and that kind of thing. But like I said, typically utility companies, natural gas providers usually won't do it because their margins are so slim. They just can't absorb the interchange.
Okay, so on the vendor side, I know on the city side, it may look like just an ACH draft or automatic payment type transaction, but it's still considered a credit card transaction for the vendor.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Well, thank you, John, for providing us some information on the P-card program. I'm sure that we'll be getting a lot of calls about that. I think it's a great program that our municipalities can take advantage of.